Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards and today's session is focusing on dribbling. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to leave us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, we're looking at a pattern of play which is focusing on our dribbling. But before we get into that, let's have a look at how many players we're working with this week and the equipment that we'll be using. So we have 11 players, including a goalkeeper, so 10 outfield players. But if you do have more players, you can just adapt the session, obviously, to use more players. If you have, let's say, 15 players or more, you can even add just another team in here. So you can have 3 groups of 5. Or if you, let's say, you have 12 outfield players, you can just add in an extra pass on each side for the pattern of play. In terms of the equipment that we'll be using, it's balls, bibs, cones, and then if you have poles, that would be perfect to use to dribble in and out of. Like I say, it's better for the players to try and manoeuvre around poles, okay, and it makes it more realistic to win in a game rather than going around a cone, which is just on the floor. So in terms of the setup for this part of the session, okay, we're going 30 yards of depth and 30 yards of width, okay, so it depends on exactly where you want, how far you want the pass to be from goal, okay, so I have it from the start line here to this set here, 15 yards, and then 15 yards from here to where the player will start the dribble. So the pass in here should really just be 5 yards because this player is going to be moving around this player. We don't want them to be too far away. So it's going to start off with a dribble, and then it's going to be dead sharp play to then dribble into the final third to score. Okay, so we're splitting our group into 2 groups of 5. Okay, a player is going to dribble through in and out the poles or the cones. As soon as they come out, they're going to look to then set the ball to the player who's the highest available player here, who's going to move out to receive it. Okay, this player is then going to look to make their run, okay, around, okay, the player in the middle, okay, so making that run behind the defence. So when this player is about to receive the ball, okay, they're going to set into the player in here, okay, who's central, then they're looking to set the ball in front for this player to move on to, okay, at pace. They're looking to take the ball into space quickly and then look to finish, okay. They can have the confidence if they want. If the keeper comes out quick, they can look to take it around the keeper to score, but obviously in that final third, we want them to be decisive and clinical, okay, to score as quick as we can. So the movement will be, let's go from the start again. Okay, so keep us back there. So the players dribbled in and out of the cones, okay, or the poles, like we say. They play in, okay, this player set in here. They will start to come in here, all right. Once this player here has set into the player who's going to go score, they go around this player and back to the start, okay. And the player who's set in here will come in to be the deep setter, okay. After the player is finished, okay, they will then become the first setter in here, okay. So the movement is, after the players had their shot, they come out to the wider area here. Once they've been in the wide area, they become the setter, okay, for the player to finish. Then the opposite side will go, okay, so obviously we're working on the use of both feet, so we can even do it where the player joins the opposite side after each go. Obviously that would work more if you had more players, or the players can just switch over after a few goes. So again, nice quick feet and ball control to manoeuvre through the poles, play the ball out. Timing of the run is important here. Don't burst into space too quickly, okay? Time that run, wait for the pass to travel into this player here, and that's when we can make that burst into space. Okay, drive into there, into the final third, and then look to finish. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're now looking at dribbling the ball out from the back, okay, and then playing forward. Okay, so the setup for this part of the session is going to be 30 yards of width and 40 yards of depth. Okay, so we're going to split the pitch into different areas as well. So we've got our 2 wide areas here where we're looking for players on the blue team to dribble into to then play forward. Okay, so it's having our centre backs, our full backs, our midfielders being comfortable to drive into space to then play forwards, okay? And then the opposite team are looking to obviously win the ball back and score as quick as they can. So these areas here are going to be, so we're going to have 20 yards of depth in here, okay? We're going to have 20 yards of depth in here. So, but in the middle of the pitch, we've got 40 yards of depth, so plenty of room for the players to move into. In terms of the width, okay, we've got 30 yards, so we want to try and have 15 in the middle, okay? So if you do 7 yards for each wide area, you could have 16 yards of width in the middle, okay? Or if you wanted 8 yards, depending on, you know, what age group you're working with, here you'd have 14 yards in the middle. So around about that area for the middle, all the way through for the width, and then the wide areas here. Don't want them to be too narrow, because obviously we want to have the players the chance to drive in there, because when they do drive in there, defenders can go in there as well. We want to give them a bit of room to manoeuvre and turn, but also we don't want it to be too big. So it's a 6v4 scenario plus the goalkeeper. Okay, so we've got 2 midfielders in here. One can stay high, one can stay deep as well. Our fullbacks, we're obviously looking for them to obviously stretch the pitch as well, but also have the confidence to maybe come inside and drive in, to stretch the pitch wide out here and drive in. So if a player receives the ball in this area here, okay, it doesn't count, okay? They have to drive into it. They can drive in from the middle, out wide, or they can drive from deep areas, okay, into obviously the wide area we're looking to score. When they drive in, okay, what we're looking for is the player to drive into space, okay, obviously give themselves a bit of room to manoeuvre, and then we're looking to play through, okay? So it's as if, you know, we're playing out from the back, okay, and then we're driving forward. It could be that, you know, we win the ball in midfield, okay, and we drive into space to then play forward as well. And we're driving into those wide areas, okay, just to, obviously, if we're in crowded areas and there's space in front of us, okay, but it's into a wide area, okay, we're driving in that area, and then we're looking to punish the opposition down the sides. If you wanted to do central, you could as well. You could maybe have an area here for the players to drive into, so a third zone, so you could have your 2 wide zone, and then more of a higher zone in here, so the players would have to drive into midfield, okay, to then play through, or it could be more of a drive in, and just that's a set from there, okay? If you drive in here, it's an instant goal. So change however you want, but always have the wide zones, okay? Because it's comfortable for the centre-backs to drive in as well. So we're starting off with the goalkeeper, okay? So obviously the 4 players are looking to press. They're not really too concerned about what's behind them, okay? Because with there being a 4, they've kind of got to press the ball, okay? Because if they just try and sit off, okay, we're giving us the chance to drive through, okay, into here and then look to score. And obviously, with them being high, they've got the intercept of that ball over the top, but with a long ball, okay, you've got a chance to react. So we're going to have our centre-back split, our full-backs high and wide. If somebody does receive the ball in here, okay, the play just carries on, they just can't score. It's as simple as that, okay? They have to dribble in to score. So let's say that the goalkeeper plays out to centre-back here, okay, and then we have our full-back in here. One midfielder comes short, centre-back comes across, we have one midfielder here. Striker presses the ball, okay, we have one of our midfielders here and the winger there. We switch the play, okay, centre-back steps in, okay, we can have our wide player coming here, and then we could literally have the winger goes out to defend it, the midfielder here is too slow across, okay, the striker's obviously coming back on the left winger, our full-back pushes up, so does our centre-back, our midfielders. This player might come short again, to have a decoy, for then this midfielder to receive it, and then they can open out and drive into space to then play through. Okay, so obviously we're looking to play out quickly. Okay, we're not looking to keep the ball in these areas for that long. Okay, so we're trying to give the players the confidence. Okay, to have that ability to open out. Okay, look to go forward. If the option's on to drive into space, do it. Okay, because it could be you're playing against a team who's sitting quite deep, and you want your players comfortable to bring the ball into midfield. Okay, to obviously force a player to engage and leave their position, which can then obviously, let's say the centre-back steps in and this player comes across, the midfielder can then get the ball, okay, then they can play through. So obviously you've opened the gaps in midfield to play through, we're driving in and then we're looking to play there. So obviously if the Greens win the ball back, let's say it's a bad pass or a miscontrolled touch, okay, there we go, into space, look to score as quick as we can. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to this week's 4-corner model. Okay, so taking a look at this week's 4-corner model, starting off with technical and tactical. Okay, we're looking at using both feet. Okay, so being able to shift the ball, so from left to right, right to left. So obviously, if we're in situations where we're trying to protect the ball, okay, let's say we're a left winger, but we're right-footed and we're looking to drive inside the pitch, okay, and we're using our right foot, got to be able to obviously hold the player off and use it with our left side of our body. Okay, so we're able to then You might want to turn, so then we've got to shift the ball on your foot. So then we'll be talking about our balance, which we'll see in a minute with our ABCs. So being able to shift that ball, okay? Because you might be a right footer who's playing on the right side, okay? And you're driving inside with your left and you want to shift the ball to get onto your right, okay? So it's having that ability to move quickly, which then we're looking at our ball control, okay? So using the inside of our foot, the outside of our foot, keeping the ball close to our body, and then moving the ball away from the body as well. So obviously if we're attacking the space, okay, obviously we don't want the ball going 10 yards in front, but being able to have the confidence to take the ball just a little pace in front of the body so we can keep that pace going on to it. Whereas if the ball's too close to the body and we're moving too quickly, then it's likely to get away from us. Okay, and we've got to obviously keep constantly looking down at the ball. Okay, so important to focus on being able to shift. Okay, so let's say it's a centre back and they bring the ball out with the left foot and there's no options. Okay, shifting that ball onto the right to then play through. Same with the midfielder, same with our fullbacks. Okay, so in terms of using it for dribbling, but then being able to shift the ball to another foot to then pass the ball, and then our ball control as well, using the inside of our foot to dribble, using the outside of our foot as well, and then keeping that ball close to the body in tight areas, but into space, taking it away. So obviously you get someone to engage, okay, and you can, obviously if you've got the momentum, you can take the ball away from that player into space, and then obviously look to finish or drive through even further. And then we're looking at our psychological corner. Okay, so awareness is a big one now. So lifting that head up, okay? Because if our head's constantly down, we don't know where we're going. So it's a thing what we talk about all the time with obviously younger players, but it's important to relay it onto everyone, okay? Because when you're dribbling, you've got to get that head up to see the direction that we're travelling, okay? Is the players near us? Where's the space that we can attack, okay? So having that awareness around us of even scanning the shoulders as we're going to receive it, kind of be a little touch around the corner to then burst into space, and then obviously look to dribble after that. Confidence to take risks, obviously, be it if you're a winger or even, this applies to centre-backs, full-backs, midfielders, having the confidence to receive the ball and drive into space, okay, because if the player doesn't have the confidence to do it, okay, they're just going to keep taking a touch, passing the ball, and then passing on, okay, that ownership and that responsibility, okay, so it's down to the coach and teammates as well to provide the players with that platform to take risks, okay. In the final third, if you want the team to play out from the back and the players being able to drive into midfield, letting the players make mistakes, okay, because they can learn from it as well. And obviously in training, it's the perfect time to do it. And then willingness, okay, so getting on the ball, so having that confidence and that willingness to get on the ball, to drive into space, okay, and obviously when the risks come off, the reward's even better as well. Looking at our physical corner, starting off with our ABCs, okay, so agility, balance, coordination, being able to change direction quickly, okay, being able to get a low centre of gravity to the ball, shifting that ball, okay, keeping the ball close to the body whilst getting our head up and being able to concentrate on obviously where the ball is, okay, where the man is, protecting it one side, longing to move out the other way, okay, so it's quite important that we can use those skills and obviously being quite light on our feet as well. Speed on the ball, okay, because obviously if we're dribbling too slow, it's too easy for people to defend. It's got to be at a pace which is difficult for obviously the opposition to deal with, okay, so making sure when we get that ball, we're bursting into space quickly, and then finally protect the ball. So obviously when we were saying about our ball control and our being able to shift it, we can't shift the ball if we're showing the opposition where the ball is. We've got to be able to protect it. So if we're receiving the ball back to goal, okay, can we protect it? Okay, with one side of our body, push the ball away. So it means that the defender or the opposition would have to come through the player to win the ball, which would mean that we get a foul. Okay, and then finally moving into our social corner, obviously communication, as we talk about every single week. Okay, man on, time, attack the space, things like that. Telling players to attack the space, drive forward. Okay, so the player then recognises, okay, I've got a chance to step into the play and obviously drive the team forward. Encouragement, again, it's quite similar to the communication, encouraging players to get on the ball. So obviously we're building that confidence. And then finally, ownership, which we've just said, because obviously if we give the players that confidence to take the risk, they'll take more ownership of the ball and think, right, I can do it. Okay, I don't need to pass it to another player. I feel like the coach and the players around me are giving me the confidence and the tools to try these things. Okay, so then the players are going to take ownership of their decision making, okay, to be able to drive the team forward. Now moving into the final part of this week's session, we're now moving into a small-sided game-based scenario where we're looking to dribble into the final third to score. Okay, so for the setup for this part of the session, we're going with 40 yards of depth and 30 yards of width. Okay, but the pitch is split in two, so obviously the final third is to dribble into. Okay, and then this area here is where we're looking to manoeuvre the ball into space for a player to have the ability to drive forward and score. You can start off. Personally, I would start off with when a player drives into the final third, they're unopposed, but they have, let's say, 3 touches to finish maximum, or you can do it on a 5-second timer. And then as the game progresses, it can be as soon as the ball goes into that final third, plays just live until obviously it concludes with someone scoring, or we'll speak about the opposition team, what their goal is to do when they win the ball back. So we have 20 by 13 here, 20 by 13 here, and 20 by 13 here. Ball starts with the coach. We have a 4v4 plus 2 floaters. One floater steps in, okay, for the team. So you can either start with the ball getting played into the floater, and the first time you do it, the floater can choose what team to go to. If that team then ends up scoring, okay, they'll get the ball again. If it transitions to when the ball does transition, let's say the Blues had the ball and the Greens transition, they're just looking to play into the coach to swap over, okay? Or you can even put small-sided goals in the ending. You can put an end zone for the players to drive across here as well if you wanted to, just however you want to do it. But if you're looking for quick transitions, okay, you can play into the coach or play into a goal, obviously, for the teams to swap over. But with the theme being dribbling, put an end zone here, or, you know, the wide areas could be, you know, set up with poles, and you've got to do it through the poles to then transition. So if you're playing into a floater first, floater gets the ball and plays in and steps in to provide an overload, okay? Because what we're looking to do, we've got a 5v4 scenario, gives these players one more person to mark. The floater can't score, okay? But if you wanted them to, you could enable them to. It's up to yourself how you want to do it, but have the 4 players in here who the attackers scoring with the floater, just provide an option. So these players could be, you know, your centre backs or your, you know, deeper midfielders if you want them to be. So floater has the ball, we're playing in, okay, we're looking to manoeuvre the ball to create space for a player to receive it in space. Okay, so obviously these players are going to sit a little bit more deeper because they're trying to protect that space in there, because we have to drive in, okay? It can't be received. We could receive it right here and then drive in, okay, but we've got to dribble the ball across the line to score. So like we say, we have the ball here, we're opening out, floater comes here, this player could follow the floater, and then we bang, there's the space. As soon as we get it, attack the space, okay? Into that final third, keeper comes out, look to score. If they miss or it goes wide, okay, swap over the team who has the ball. If they score, then the Blues get the ball again. Floater steps out though, okay, or the floater comes in. It's as simple as that. So then obviously if we're playing here and the Greens step in and intercept and they play into the coach, we'll then swap over. Okay, so then the Blues are obviously looking to defend. The Greens will have the floater and they're looking to step in, manoeuvre the ball, get it into space, so this player's then took that risk, get into the final third and look to score. So obviously the progression can be, if this player receives the ball and they drive into space, they can still be tackled, but they can get support from their teammate. But with the theme being dribbling, it could maybe just be that it's a 1v1, okay, so the nearest defender can go in, because we don't want it staying around in here and players are moving around and keeping the ball for too long, okay? We want it to be driving into space and then looking to finish. So obviously you could even just do your progression, by inserting goals in here for the opposition team to drive into. So attack that space in the final third, players to have that confidence to get on the ball, okay, and then in the final third, be decisive to look to score. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. For more content, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and TikTok. The links will be in the description below, and we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.